What thought or image first comes to mind when you hear the word river?
What did y'all think it was?
Well, we've all agreed that it seems to hit all five of the dialogics. It's inviting. People can respond with thoughts and feelings. A lot of times it's gonna, if you're doing river, right, what do you think when you, well, that relates to your own experience. It's, even if it's reading about rivers in the textbook, I suppose.
Yeah, and then certainly, each culture, when you look at the non-judgmental, there's nothing embedded there, but each culture or people might have different frameworks for it, but it lends itself to being non-judgmental because it's so open-ended. You can come with any type of response that would work and fit, right, and be an okay response. Certainly is inclusive because anybody can answer it from their vast experience again, and you can't answer with a yes or a no when you're asking for a thought or an image. Yeah. No, we're correct.
We're correct.
Yeah.
We got it
Yay! No wrong answer. No, I'm just kidding. Thank y'all. Thank you. You're correct. All right, number 4, back table.
The question was, how much do you think temperatures will change during the 21st century if emissions remain at their current trend?
Yeah.
It's one of those sticky topics sometimes.
It is a sticky one, yeah. Do you think that, did y'all think it was inviting or?
We thought it was more generative than inviting. Depends on the person on the other end.
Yeah.
We also thought it was kind of a narrowly worded question, like, you could
How much?
you could say more like, why do you think that, or
Yep.
be more of a broad question.
I love that y'all mentioned it. It could have been worded better. It could have had the why, or how do you think it will change? The temperature thing is like really weird.
Yeah, I mean it's almost like
In the
asking
21st century, if I
for a
heard that-
number, well,
Yeah.
2 degrees, 5 degrees, like it can
Yeah.
go mathematical there.
Yeah. And then we all start arguing because we all have like 5 degrees difference in our answers. Like, it's just interesting. Yeah, I agree.
So it will definitely create a discussion. So we put the generative in there.
Yeah, it definitely could lead to discussion. I also feel like it's kind of not inviting. That was a really long question. With, I don't know, it could have been words omitted or better words.
yeah.
Thank you. All right, then back, my back right, y'all's back left table. Number 3.
Okay, well,
Definitely generated discussion.
yeah, no,
Oh, yeah.
generate discussions, inclusive to the extent that we're asking for your opinion, so, Phil, and I could picture, young kids going, huh? and other people would have more to say. The non-judgmental, there's nothing embedded in the question. It's basically what's your take on things. Experience, again, you're asking for their opinion, and inviting. I'm not as sure, because you may hit a target or you may not. I guess if I represented us.
Yeah, I think that.
It's a tough one.
Yeah,
There's good representation.
they had a hard question, which is what impact does immigration have on your daily life, which is definitely a sticky topic because there's quite a few national park sites that talk about immigration and, you know, the positives and negative discussions that you can have with that. And, you know, that's also some of the times it's what our world currently is living in, or our country, or our visitor. We have visitors that are immigrants and different things, and maybe that's not a very inviting topic, you know, that they want to talk about. I would hope if someone was asking this question, they had a program that also explained what immigration is, because Dave, you're saying, like, if it's a kid, I'm like, I don't know what that word means, you know? And so I don't feel like it is inviting because the word, but maybe if it was in a topic or in a program and explained what immigration is for sure. I feel like that y'all answered it right. But it could have been worded impact, you know, where there's that word. Sometimes someone might have a lived experience that we don't care to listen to.
A lot of these things, though, are very, sort of as you're suggesting, location dependent in a way. You know, I mean, if randomly we're at Glacier Vista and I asked somebody that question, it would be, I think, intrusive and offensive and all sorts of things.
Mm-hmm.
But there are settings or even people or situations where that's where the conversation is sort of, that's where it is. It's maybe not even a program, but it's a sensible conversation to be having. So it is very, I mean, when you just said that about national parks that have more of an immigration, like if you're at Ellis Island, that's a really different setting than up here.
And I should have prefaced, this workbook is for all National Park Service.
Okay.
So that's why they include things that are like Harper's Ferry, I think one of y'all. Yeah, it's it is random because the parks have very unique national park sites, and there's some that talk about maybe immigration or racism or different things, and so that's where they have that very specific question. I didn't know that was y'all that got it, but I'm glad it was. But yeah.
But even if you might get an answer, like the conversation could be uncomfortable, but looking at inviting, people feel welcome to respond with their feelings and their thoughts, and certainly the way that I thought that the way the question was phrased, unlike your comments about number 4, that this one was kind of just more general and open-ended.
Yes. I also feel like how you presented that topic, like it could have been more welcoming to where we all feel comfortable sharing. But if you started your program with that, I would have walked out. I would not have. I would have been like, oh, or like if you talked to me, that was your first question. I'd be like, okay, I don't want to get in that discussion. But if it's like, like
it could be an ending question.
Yeah, it's an ending, a good essential ending question. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Dave, you have Cane Post Dave?
Oh, I just wanted to contribute something. I went on a national park sponsored walking tour of downtown New Orleans.
Yeah.
Where they were talking about the history of New Orleans. And it really struck me how that's like the most multicultural place in the United States based on what they told us.
Yeah, and I have the teams app. Okay. And then 2, who was 2? Ruth and...
Yeah, it was what part of Harper's story is the most interesting to you? I don't know what Harper's Ferry story is. So I tried to look it up and didn't have any
Fifth grade history class.
So, yeah, seriously. That was a long time ago. So I thought, well, if you knew Harper's Ferry or was in a national park that maybe it has something to do with, it's a very inviting question. I'm thinking that it's probably, I don't know if it's real or fictional, but experiential, I don't think it is.
Yeah.
Or would be. Non-judgmental, it's hard to answer that because I don't know what the story's about. So I would say that it doesn't really, I don't know if it does or doesn't fit that category. I'm assuming I don't want to assume.
Okay.
Is it inclusive? Really, no, it's not, because not everybody knows Harper's Ferry. And is it generative? No, because chances are you're going to get a yes or a no question. So our answer, and if it's a yes, then it would open it up, but it is the opportunity to, a lot of people will say no, but they wouldn't know, so I didn't think it was generative. We didn't think it was generative. So,
None.
it hit the first one, it could be a party. I mean, the question itself is, would be inviting to somebody who knew.
Yeah. That's how, I feel like that question, I would start like, what do you find interesting about Mount Rainier? But I wouldn't end the conversation that way, or the program. And Margaret, during lunch, you're gonna have to tell us about Harper's Ferry, but just real quick, Harper's Ferry is a national park site. And then we also have another one that Harper's Ferry is kind of our be-all for publications. So a lot of our brochures or things might be, or waysides, sometimes they're designed by Park Ranger, but sometimes they might be designed by Harper's Ferry, or different things like that. And they also help like produce those publications and different things. So there's two different, So we'll get into Harper's Ferry during lunch, Margaret. You have to give us history.
John Brown didn't see no token. There you go.
I tried it.
No, you did. No, you did great. You did great. And then you're learning a lot about the Park Service today, aren't you? Yeah. And then number one.
You go. No, you go. Where do you think Frederick, is it Roeder, got the money to open his bakery? I realize now that as we're talking that these are national park questions, and so maybe we will have to find out who Frederick is also, because we didn't know who Frederick was.
I don't either.
And again, it depends on the setting. We were saying that, it's so much of this also is about tone and body language, because our immediate reaction was, oh, this is really judgy. Where did this guy get in money from? But then we realized, oh, well, maybe if this is wow, I wonder where he did get his money for the bakery based on that time and place. So context is everything, and also body language and tone matters. And we would respond to some of those things differently depending on that scenario. But
We're on the list.
Also, sometimes money can be a sticky problem.
True. True.
Okay, so now that we've gone through all those, this is just how to choose the right question. Oh, that's a good. Okay, is that, do I have a lunch? Oh, I don't have a lunch slide. Whoops.
No lunch slide.
Okay, well, I know it's lunch.
Okay. Safe spaces are good for lunch.
Yeah, safe spaces are good for lunch. Yeah. All right, everybody, it's lunchtime. But now we are on page 15, and we're discussing safe spaces. And, oh no, Norma's always, this is a safe space, Norma.
She's helping. She's helping.
This is a safe space. You don't need to hide under your table. That's funny. So, on the board, there's two questions that say, how do you know someone is genuinely interested when they ask you a question? And think about it. When they ask you a question. Does anyone have an answer?
Eye contact.
Eye contact?
Being in the room.
leaning in more. Yep.
When they're actually really waiting for you to give them an answer. Instead
Yeah.
of just asking, just walking off.
Yeah.
Halfway through your answer.
When they ask if they can ask you a question.
Yeah.
Do people often ask questions and they don't care? Like the opposite of that? Like,
I think so.
I think also if you're doing a program, like, and you're just like, okay, I have to, like, so interpreters that are doing a program, it's like, okay, I have to be here, and I did a program yesterday, or I did one this morning, and it's like, how's everyone doing? You know, they're kind of maybe that. I would think maybe when you're asking a question for the umpteenth time that day, you know, like, how's your day going? And you're kind of just
you
like,
don't really
you know,
care.
yeah, you're just trying to be nice
Yeah.
because this visitor stepped on the meadow. They're the 100th person to step on the meadow in front of you, and
Okay.
you're just like, how's it going? You know, I think maybe that's where it's coming from.
Okay.
But that's a good question, though.
Okay.
So is this referring to the interpreter?
Yes.
Genuinely?
Or just in general, like, how do you know someone's asking a
Because somebody
question?
can ask a question, and when you go and give the answer, they don't want the whole log spill, they just want a yes or no.
Mhm.
But if you try to give an answer and then explain it, they may be going like, okay, I'm not interested in that,
Yeah.
I just want to
Yeah.
give you an answer.
Just tell me
That's
how
it.
tall the
Yeah,
mountain is.
yeah, exactly.
It's a good example. What is that whoop, whoop, whoop that I heard?
Yeah,
Said round. Oh, thank you. Kept
Yeah.
going.
yeah.
She just wanted to know what was
They
that.
just want to know.
Right.
I also think another another way you can tell if someone's genuinely asking a question is when they pause and let you think instead of rambling on to the next thing or the continue, you know, like, do you know about these wildflowers? You just destroyed these wildflowers and then you didn't even give them a chance to think, like, you know, what do I think about, you know? And I feel like also me as someone that talks really quickly and talks a lot, I forget to let people think and gather their thoughts and then answer. And I think that sometimes, not maybe mean that I'm not genuine, but maybe I'm like, okay, I need to go on to this next thing. And so I think that's also listening to them. So, safe spaces. So safe spaces, you can see up here, we want to, no matter the visitor, no matter how many, we want them to feel safe here because nature is safe and the park is for them. And so we want to create a welcoming environment. We also, when we're talking to them, we want to encourage them to participate or talk to us and allow sharing their own experiences. And also allows for social bridging, build rapport, which that goes back to we're not going to just straight out ask them, what are your thoughts on immigration? Or how does immigration affect your daily life? Whoa, okay, that's not, I don't feel safe, I don't know you, you know. And so building that rapport or trying to get to know why they're here, why they're damaging that meadow, and then getting into, okay, now we can talk about the sticky problem of protecting the resource. So a safe space is necessary to establish collaborative learning, but by itself, this learning does not necessarily challenge visitors or bring them to a new place of understanding. And I'll admit that sometimes I don't make it a safe space for visitors when I see that they're deliberately doing something. And I have been rude to someone that that genuinely had a whole communication barrier. They had done the research, but they were still wrong, and they were flying a drone. And they were very apologetic, and we were translating. But I came hot and heavy and just mad, and I cooled down, and I was like, that could have been a teachable moment, and still we could have accomplished the same thing nicely and not ruin their experience, And so sometimes it's hard because I'm like, it's the 10th drone So I feel like that's also when you build rapport when you're getting onto them, you know, and you're talking very nicely and welcoming and giving that safe space, they're gonna retain that information more, like this is why it's not allowed, or this is why I shouldn't be doing what I'm doing, rather than like that ranger was mad and hiked me down with my drone and different things like that.
It's hard when you see somebody in a dangerous situation.
Yes.
That's
different, yeah.
Yeah, we've come across some kids that were sitting in the rocks in the middle of the river, the stream,
Yeah.
and, you know, one had lost his phone, so they were digging around trying to,
Yeah.
and we're going like, you can't be
And
here.
you have to yell because they
Yeah.
can't hear you.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
So there are situations like that where,
Absolutely.
I'm not gonna build a rapport with you right now, I'm gonna tell you to
It's
get
the
out.
ranger mom voice.
Yeah,
time,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, and again, pick and choose. Some experiences, or if they're really mean or aggressive or whatever, okay, bye. You know? Or hey, I need to yell at you because you need to hear me because you're in danger. That's different. This one, they weren't in danger. There was no search and I was at fault. You know, there was no search and rescue. I could have approached it differently and have that experience. You know.
She didn't have her weeds for breakfast.
Yeah. yes. I need a Snickers bar. And then also brave spaces. So recognize what needs to be present for learning to occur. So a conversation, diversity of voices and perspective, parameters and guidelines for the experience, productive ways to learn from conflict and disagreement. So this is kind of more when you're talking to people in a program, like doing a formal program or a pop-up. You want to have a conversation. Again, it's same with that immigration question. That is very, you haven't set the tone. You haven't built that community because you didn't have the conversation yet. You didn't share your own experience. If there are people that don't feel comfortable sharing, because then there's also visitors that are more than welcome to tell you everything that they should tell a therapist, and we've all had them, and that's totally okay. And then you can build that rapport with them, and then kind of get into that brave space and that deep personal connection and deep thought and question, but you don't want to throw it in on them. So you need a safe and brave space. But also, again, when we're talking, some people just don't want to share, and that's okay. They're here to listen, and they want to hear other people share. And sometimes that also encourages other people to share. It's just hearing the diversity of voices, and also kind of make them think of something different and their different experience. Okay. So, I know y'all just sat down, but we're going to do an activity real quick. So I'm going to have y'all stand up. Oh, yes. Okay. So this side of the room represents green. This side of the room represents yellow, like in the middle. And then red. So green means, okay, I feel good, I feel welcome, I feel like this is fun. Middle, okay, I don't know if I feel comfortable answering that question. Red is like, absolutely not, do not ever ask me that question. I'm not going to answer that. Does that make sense? Yep. Okay. So the first question is, who in your life first shaped your relationship with nature? You feel like you could be green? That would be an easy thing to answer for you yourself? Do you feel like that's yellow in between? Or red? And y'all can move. You can help your food digest.
Only green.
Hey, Howie. Green. Yeah, sorry, it's a comfort thing. Yeah, sorry, comfort thing.
Oh, comfort.
I'm sorry, I apologize. Comfort.
Yeah, very comfortable.
Cool, like this is comfortable, you feel comfortable. Middle is you don't feel quite comfortable answering that question. And then
Comfortable or able to?
Yeah,
comfort
comfort or able.
yeah, sorry.
Expert on this or?
Sorry, that's a great, I should have worded that different, thank you. Comfortable, okay, cool. How does the state of your borders affect the development of cultural identity? Imagine you're in a group full of visitors. A group full of visitors. Yeah, comfortable. How do you feel comfortable answering this in front of a group of visitors? As you are a visitor. So you're a visitor.
Thank you, I'm having trouble.
You're a visitor.
I don't know what the question is answered.
Yeah, you're a visitor, and I'm asking you this question as part of my program. And I want you to answer. How does the state of our borders affect the development of cultural identity? This was made before this year. Okay. What is your favorite national park? If you don't say Mount Rainier, you don't say the last one is when asked where you're from, how do you answer and why? So when you're asked where you're from, how does that make? Is that easy for you?
Okay, you go ahead and answer. The only thing, the problem is when they ask me, don't assume the country that I am from. Just ask me, where are you from? Don't assume that, oh, are you from Mexico? No, I am not from Mexico. I'm from Mexico, okay? But I'm okay to, I say, I am from El Salvador. So that's how you approach what somebody comes over here and say, oh, well, where are you from? Well, don't assume that I'm from Mexico because I speak Spanish. And that's very common. Very common. I'm not good at that.
And then I also sometimes, depending on who's asking in the situation, it is very uncomfortable because people have assumptions of the Northeast, or they have assumptions of people from the South and sound that way, or someone that has an accent. So sometimes it depends on who's asking the question, but yeah, that can be a very uncomfortable question for some folks, especially where you are in this year.
See, the tone actually makes a big difference.
Yes.
How they're asking the question.
Yes.
That makes a big difference.
Are you in the middle?
I think I'm over here now.
Yeah. Okay, and then I have a few more that I thought of. What animal do you hope to see today? You're at Mount Rainier. What animal do you hope to see today?
Oh, that could be like for me, it's a green, but some people get
Comfortable?
scared. Wait a minute, there's animals here?
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
true.
comfortable. How comfortable? For you yourself, what animal do you see?
For you as a visitor to answer that question.
Yep, for you as a visitor, I'm asking you right now, how comfortable would you feel with that question?
I don't like coming here and looking for a particular animal.
What if you don't like animals? I know. I know. What brings you to Mount Rainier?
Why would you have problems answering that question?
It's too complicated.
It's too many ways to answer it, right? I mean, that's too general of a question.
You can just say, I could give you a laundry list.
Yeah.
Although I will say that I have occasionally run into somebody who, that wasn't the question I asked, and we were talking about other things, but then it came to be that they were coming because of sort of a personal trauma or a personal something that was going on. And so that, just asking that simple question would have been, I think, like one step too far emotional for them maybe, so, yeah.
I think it depends on the person.
Yeah.
And,
Right.
yeah.
And there was
on, we don't assume.
You know where I'm getting at. It depends on the person and their lived experience.
Yeah.
How will you stop climate change? How,
Well,
as a visitor,
Okay.
I'm asking you, I'm a ranger asking you, how will you stop climate change?
Oh, I'm the one answering it for myself.
Yes. I know.
Stop
Okay, the last one,
Too much.
I'm a ranger asking you, and y'all are the visitors, what does family mean to you?
You're the answer. I'm on vacation.
You just
Or it's in a program, or it could be in a program. I'm just asking you the question, maybe in a program or in general. We all have that one person in our family. And maybe they're with you on that hike or that program and you're like, thanks. You know what I'm saying? All right, y'all can sit down. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, you got a question too? Okay. So I'll go to the next one. Green, yellow, red. We all have different experiences. And so a green line experience is something that doesn't have too much investment and we can all relate to. What's your favorite national park? Or what animal are you interested in seeing today? Or what's your favorite animal? Yellow questions is when it kind of gets a little bit less experience, or an experience that sometimes we don't want to talk about, so we need to build up to that, like family. Family's normally not a red experience, but it could be a red experience for some people. Friendship, relationships, community, that's typically, for the most part, however, they could be going through something that day. That is a hard topic typically. And then the red light experience are the most risky ones, the ones to really ask about. Doesn't mean you don't have to ask those questions, but we don't want to ask them out just right there. We want to know our audience first, and we want to build that rapport. So these are the questions that kind of help you build a program. You want to start at the traffic light very easy with the green, slow down to the yellow, and then stop on the hard, thinking about question red. But also, you don't want to ask a closed-ended question. I should reiterate that. So do y'all remember that interpretive wheel that we were talking about earlier? So this is just kind of the arc of the dialogue experience, which is the different phases. So the different phases is building that community, which is number one. So again, we're not going to ask that thing about immigration or climate change right off the bat, unless we want to have a horrible day. But we want them to enjoy their experience, and we do too. So building that community, what are you here to see, or what have you seen today? And then that two is sharing their personal experience, having them share. Also, sometimes building community is honestly just introducing yourself and what you're doing. A lot of times I have that problem with strictly just because my badge of flat hat, especially for kids, I look like a cop. And when I say, oh, I'm a park ranger, I help protect the building that relationship of who you are and what you're doing really helps build a community, and just kind of making them feel more comfortable. And then you can ask also a question as well. And then the skipping forward back to phase 3 explore experience with others. So that's like if you're asking the group that question. Typically more that's a formal or informal program, but of course you can always be talking to a group of people and that be what y'all are referencing. And then phase 4, when you're in a program or doing a little pop-up, is bringing it back and kind of closing it with a nice little bow, and that's synthesizing and bringing closure. And that's kind of that juicy so what question that we were talking about, the essential questions before lunch. That was kind of leaves them pondering and wondering. Again, that's typically more for programs. However, you can also incorporate it really quickly when you're talking to folks. So just real quick, the next slide, hopefully y'all can read that. I believe it is not in your workbook, but looking at these questions, I'll divide y'all up again. So y'all be 1, 2, 3, 4, because I think that confused. Oh, it's in letters. A, B, C, D, and you as a group have to decide if that what phase that question is. Is it phase 1, phase 2, 3, or 4? Or yeah, that makes sense why they did letters since we're doing phase 1, phase 2. And the phases are on page 17. And the questions are up on the board, but you're trying to decide if your question is phase 1, 2, 3, or 4. So the questions.
So we might be sharing about the bar that hibernates or
that feed the longest Cheetos.
right.
Also, I'm like very thinking that, oh no, not being closure.
Well, I wasn't there for it, I think.
Phase 2.
It's closer, yeah. So
What species do we not
I think human, of course, but they want another species, huh?
could be.
They want
I
another.
know where,
It says,
but I know where David is going. Like, without a plant, we won't have.
It looks like y'all all have different opinions, but also this conversation could last a little bit longer. But we're gonna go. Melanie's like, give me more. Okay, we're still talking. We're gonna continue. We're gonna continue. So we'll skip to the folks that have agreed on an answer. Letter B. Your question was, think of a memorable moment you had with, wait, was it B or D? Y'all agree?
Maybe,
Yeah. Think of a memorable moment you had with an animal. What has stayed with you from that moment?
we came up with phase 2.
Does everyone see how they came up with phase 2?
I can lean towards one as
Margaret
well.
and Dave, why did y'all come up with phase
What?
2?
You want to hear the stories?
Oh, that's right. See? Yeah.
They're
So
very
your own
different stories.
experience was shared, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I was thinking it was phase 2, because originally, just going down the list, phase 1, okay, this is pretty non-threatening. But then when you get to the second phase, you are looking at sharing a personal experience. So it's getting beyond that, oh, my favorite was a mountain bird. And, but why is that significant? So you're getting beyond just the,
We didn't come to
the
a
A
point,
level.
but
But you're not into risky territory, really.
Yep.
You didn't think,
Thank you, Dave and Margaret. So I'm going to go to A. What is your responsibility to save other species?
I think we kind of differed.
two of us were saying build community, which I guess it could fit our responsibility to save other species. And we thought that the species was like the ecosystem, animals, plants, the whole kind of ecosystem, waters. But a couple of us thought maybe more 3 or 4, because that's the kind of a question that I go, how much responsibility do I have in saving other species? I don't belong to a group, I don't have anything, I can only pack in, pack out, or obey the rules. So I have to really walk away and stop and think about that. So, I mean, so it was kind of split between 1 and 4.
I would personally think that it would be phase 4, and why I think that it could be phase 4 is what is your responsibility to save? So that is a heavy loaded question. That sounds more like a pretty bow at the end of this is why we don't want you to step on the wildflowers, or this is why we don't want you to feed the animals, or this is leave no trace, different things. And then you kind of already had that conversation, you were talking about it, and then it's something to walk away with, because it's really like the juicy so what? Like, why did she just tell me all this information? It's thought-provoking. Also, kind of a lot to answer personally, because I really want to think, well, how could I save that marmot? And to us, it's a simple answer, don't step off the trail. But to them, now they're kind of thinking about it throughout the day to stay on that trail. That kind of makes sense why it would be phase 4. And then C, which is, what have you heard or thought about in this conversation that you would want to share with someone else?
So this is the sort of thing, it's almost like a meta question about the conversation, and it really feels like a closing to us, had a conversation, and now what?
Yeah, so you have this conversation, you're reflecting on it, and then, thinking about what it is you may or may not want to pass on. And the nature of what you're going to want or not pass on would depend probably on how personal the conversation is. If it's just cool marmot stats, that's easy, but if you were on a personal level, maybe there'd be nothing that got passed on, and it would just stay kind of in the cone of the people talking. So we thought 4 because of that synthesize and kind of closures to what you're going to pass on.
I like that. That it can also be phase 4. Because my, again, opinion was that it would be more phase 3, just because you're exploring the experience of others. So we just all had this conversation, and now it's, let's dive a little bit deeper into what you thought about this question, or your experience with this situation, because we have different experiences. However, I do see how that is also phase 4, because how are you going to tell other people what I just told you? So I agree that definitely could. Cool. Thank you. And then, last but not least, D, what is a species that you wouldn't want to live without? Why? What phase did y'all think that one was?
Okay, we came on a consensus that it is phase 2, which is your personal experience, because what is the species that we cannot live with? But the answers kind of led us into 4, because David was thinking plants, because they give you oxygen and everything. And then I was thinking humans, because I'm like, I don't want to live alone in this world, And then we started talking about books and movies, and so I think it went from being a solid 2 question to like 4, which started diverging into exploration.
I agree. I feel like if it just said what's your favorite species that you couldn't live without, it's like saying what's your favorite animal or what animal do you want to see. I feel like that's building community, but it's the why. Once they ask the why, you're like, dang, now I really got to think about, why is that my favorite animal? Why should I care? I feel like it still might be phase 2, like you were saying. I think just because it feels more comfortable to ask, and depending on, again, the conversation, that it's not quite yet 3 or 4, unless y'all are sharing amongst each other, of course, then it's 3, but 4, I think it's like, well, how can you protect this animal? Because the why, I can easily talk about why I like this animal, but the how is different. Y'all did really good. Cool. Lot of thinking today, isn't it? And then, just a quick,
I thought that's a chemical equation.
these are called an interpretive equation. So interpretation, even though they said it's not science, it's an art, I see a math equation, but I'm going to ignore it. So this is what interpretation, the typical interpretation when you're writing about how to build that arc of dialogue, that program. This is the equation that they say makes your amazing interpretive program, or the interpretive opportunity.
Okay, it's potassium.
So, does everyone remember what goes first? Parenthesis. So it's going to be knowledge of the audience plus knowledge of the resource. Put that together, add an appropriate technique, which we will go over what those techniques are. Again, one of the examples was my sticky notes over there. That was a technique, believe it or not. That's a technique. So that's what makes their interpretive opportunity. It's not just me talking to them the whole time and listening to what I say. It's using these different techniques to make it more memorable and juicy. However, some people do like a lecture, but that's not what interpretation really focuses on. So this is the interpretive equation. So interpretation has been around for a while, but this is ACE that y'all are learning, the audience-centered experience, incorporated into that same interpretation equation. So now it's not only the knowledge of the audience, the knowledge of the resource, but also knowledge of self, which I didn't really go over with y'all today because we just didn't have time. But it's basically talking about your own self-biases and different things, which I know most of y'all very well. I feel like all of y'all. And y'all are very self-aware. And y'all interact very well with the public. But it's also just to make sure how to interpret or talk to people without having your biases there. Or knowing them, recognizing them, and then talking to them. But also, it's not just, the equation also, you can see underneath, is talking about, it's not just the audience knowledge, it's having them respond, it's having them be engaged. It's also not knowledge of the resource of like, that's a cool mountain. It's like, oh, that mountain is losing its glaciers, it's a sticky problem, or yeah, that mountain has fragile meadows. Like, it's not just the cool fun facts, it's the sticky problem. So that's why it's kind of different than just the interpretive equation. Has more feeling to it, you know. And of course, the appropriate technique will then give an interpretive experience. And then what we're back to the beautiful interpretive wheel. You can see on page, I just had it. Oh yeah, page 19. It's just how do I these techniques that we're about to go over kind of shows you the different ways you can support support the interpretive wheel, whether it be by telling a great story, or learning from or with others, or grappling with that sticky problem, or to invite sharing. So we're going to talk about different techniques that you can use to talk about these different subjects, or use when you're talking about these different subjects. And I'm just going to go over real quick techniques to tell a great story. These are techniques of writing and speaking, helping both interpreter and audience to express themselves. So sometimes when you're telling a great story, we need a visual, or maybe we need that quote or whatever. That's kind of what it's saying there. Techniques to learn from or with others. These are techniques of active listening, helping both interpreter and audience pay close attention and truly hear each other. So those techniques you really want both audience and interpreter or person speaking to be engaged. And then techniques to grapple with sticky problems. These are the techniques of commitment and habit building, helping participants devise new actions to take in their everyday lives. And then techniques to invite sharing. These are the techniques of asking and questioning, helping both interpreter and audience create environments of sharing and welcoming. Sharing and welcoming. So again, this is talking more about a program, so you don't need to use all of this wheel and have a technique, 4 different techniques when you're talking to somebody. You don't even do that. It's just, again, a little tool to have when you're asking questions for people. And I'll just show you an example that we have been using this whole time that people would typically use during a program or a pop-up. So voting with your feet, that we just did when we were voting, it was an ACE activity. Because I don't know if you noticed, I didn't really ask y'all questions like to dive deep, and y'all already were sharing with each other different experiences. But it also is a great representation. Even if y'all didn't say anything, you were all on a spectrum at one point, and it gives you a different perspective of like, why was that not very comfortable for you to answer? So that is one way. Always voting is getting people to want to vote. Luckily, y'all are very interactive, but sometimes visitors are like, I don't want to do this. Sometimes we also have voting like I have here of what is in your fridge, and no one put steak. What a shame. I should put beef, but I put steak to make it specific. A lot of people had fruit. One had ice cream, which I should have said freezer and fridge. But this is another example. The only con about this voting is we're not learning from each other. We are, because we're here. But if this was left at a visitor center, I'm not learning anything about anything. Like if they said, what animal did you see? You know, cool, you saw a bear. Where?
Oh,
You
I
know.
thought it was gonna be for like.
Is that the sign by the elevator?
The one that get the most.
Aside by the elevator?
Oh,
There's always like a whiteboard.
The whiteboard
Yes.
by the elevator that has a
Yes.
different question every day.
That question is an interpretive question typically that is everyone can answer. Sometimes it's where you're from, which is cool. I mean, yeah, we can take stats on it. We can learn from our visitors. And they can see, oh, wow, someone came all the way from, wherever. And so you do kind of learn in a way, but it's not that deep thinking. So it's kind of more of an opener sometimes, or just to leave, like pop-up. But yeah, that is exactly the one by in the Jackson Visitor Center by the elevator. They'll have a whiteboard that typically asks an open-ended question that's not yes or no. Not typically voting. I don't think they have one that says like, did you see this? And I haven't seen that yet, but they might. Oh yeah, voting. And then pictures and illustrations. Pictures and illustrations. I wonder what all the rovers typically have for pictures and illustrations. What is a marker? pull out this picture. I saw that. Yeah. Or on a cloudy day, when they're like, "Where's Panorama Point?" Just having a picture of Mount Rainier, well, you know, that is right there. But pictures, also when sometimes language is a barrier, it's fun to point and go, you know, like, this is what this eats. And, you know, pictures really help a lot. And illustrations, and they convey something that isn't visible, like a mountain, or the snow. Sometimes that might be something as well, because when I tell people there was snow here in July, we've all done that, and they go, "What?" Or they're here in July, and they're like, "Where are the flowers?" And we're like, "Here's what they actually," or I love when they show us the picture of Myrtle Falls and the flowers, and you're like, "Yeah, it's right here." And and it's under snow. So, another thing is, these are, so picture, obviously this could be considered a picture illustration. It could also be considered a prop for some folks, because a prop is an item that you're using or a tool to show people. And our most valuable prop is a meadow bower buddy, or the Protect Your Fragile Meadows. This is a prop. It's something that they can use. A lot of times when you see in a program, if they have skulls, like the replicas of skulls or scat or whatever, that's typically a prop. And then the one that I love that I'm going to ask Norma to open. Norma, will you open? This is honestly the coolest prop to have in your phone, which I call it the snow measure. But what is it called?
So this is a snow probe. So this is mostly you mountaineers. So usually what they use when they avalanche and they're trying to find somebody. But I use it as a learning tool.
Yeah.
So every time when we out there in either a Myrtle Falls or a dance floor, I usually just take it out, and especially with kids, and I start bringing it down into the snow very slowly, and they start saying, "Wow, I didn't know there was so much snow in here." And I actually let the kids poke it down until they can feel the hard part. I had a family from Florida, they'd never seen snow before, and they were at Myrtle Falls. They had never built a snowman before. And I even let them use I also carry a shovel, and I had them use it and bring it down, and they were unbelievable. Because we had, at that time, I think we had about 9 feet of snow up in Myrtle Falls. And the kid kept going down and down and down and down and down, and his brother was like, "Are we standing on almost 9 feet of snow?" I said, "Yes, you are." You know, so I always carry it with me. And I like to know whether edit basing is safe to still. There you go.
Has anyone ever seen one of these? Me?
That always gets a great response.
Yeah.
Yes. You can always hear
Yes.
when you give it to someone and they push up, keep pushing harder, and they just, you can hear the whole audience go,
Yes.
you know. So that's a great one.
And it's not that heavy to put it in.
Norman, did you know this was an interpretive tool?
No, my daughter asked me, "Okay, my mom, what do you want?" I said, "I want a snow probe." What? He said, "Snow probe." She said, "Okay." So yeah, that's what I got. Yeah.
And that's why, thank you, Norma. This is why I asked her to read. And so a big reason why I did this training is because a handful of metal rovers we want to do interpretation. And then I see Norman pull this out. I'm like, they're doing it, and they don't. Y'all, you know, you do it. We're doing it, and just having what it is in your mind and stuff. But this right here is an amazing prop, because the simple of where are you visiting from? You know, Florida. Oh, you're gonna get a reaction out of that. But even people that are, I've grown up. Well, I haven't grown up around here, but I live here, and they said 9 feet, and I'm like, yeah, 9 feet. Then I saw Norman stick this thing down. Oh, that's 9 bring it up like this and hold it next to you is even more. And you don't even, and say you don't even have this, you can also say, you know, whoever's in your group, and it's like, you can see who's the tallest, and you can say, oh, how tall are you? And, you know, oh, Dad's 6'5". I'm like, would you believe that the snow is taller than him? You know, and then it makes it about them and their experience, and, you know, and so you don't even have to have this to have that experience. And I like to use them when they're talking about how hot it is, and I said, would you believe on 4th of July there was almost 10 feet of snow? 10 feet doesn't make sense, but when you point at Dad or Mom who's super tall, oh my gosh, and it's like 3 feet taller, but this is a great prop. And I think it's cool to show winter or spring, I guess it's spring or summer. And it's also keeping them safe, because they still are like, I'm here in flip-flops and I made it up this, 7 feet of snow, and you're like, no. But you can also talk about the resource. So you can talk about number of things. You can talk about the snow melting at a rapid rate this year. You can talk about, this is why our meadows are so fragile, is because there's snow this deep until July, and this is why they don't have that much growing at time, and different things like that. So this could lead into a lot of sticky problems, and in a fun way. And you're still, doing the same thing that you would. And the buttons. The button's another fun way to talk about sticky problems, because it's a reminder of, okay, she told me why I'm not supposed to step on this. It's not just handing it over to him. It's, she told me that it's gonna, or he was gonna destroy, the plants that the critters are eating, and vice versa. Thank you, Mama.
You can also,
I'm not gonna break her nose, though, bro.
you can also
Yes.
read discussions about, they can rethink the trees, or they see the tops of the trees.
Yes. Another way that a picture would be amazing. Myrtle Falls is, I think of Myrtle Falls as high vegetation area, but those trees where when they're covered, like they're only a little bit, visible, having a picture, and it's, 80 degrees out, and we're like, this is what it was just a month ago, and it's like covered in snow, and so pictures can also do a lot as well. So these are techniques that can help you accomplish those goals with asking questions or not. Again, the voting and stuff, you don't get to see their answer. And if you want to know more about the different kind of techniques, there is more on the pages. It's 21 through, I believe, 21 through 23, and they just show different techniques. Graffiti wall is technically what that one is called at the Jackson Visitor Center, because they're writing on it. It's also kind of accessible, because you can, kids that, or people that can't write can also draw if it's like, what animal did you see? And then the bike rack's not really an example, but also you working together and talking as a pair share kind of thing, that is also a technique, because you're sharing your experience. So you can also have people just think one-on-one together that way. We have a few more minutes. And does anyone need a break, or can y'all wait 15 minutes? Cool. So I was just going to go over the rest of the workbook. It has really cool stuff about giving feedback to people, which I feel like you can take in your everyday life, because it's talking about positive, and not just saying, oh, that was good. It's like giving them specific feedback, and then like quality versus quantity and different things, which is in the in the workbook. Why it's in there is because a lot of times as interpreters, we go to each other's programs after they've done it a handful of times, and we can provide feedback to them. Because, we're always learning. Even if you do the program 100 times, like Kurt, I know he still has people go on his program because he to continue to grow and do better, or maybe he was like, oh, I feel too comfortable doing that, I need to learn more. And then also in the worksheet, or workbook, if you're ever wanting to build a program, or become an interpretive volunteer and also do a program, they have how you can build a program in there, like step by step, because it's everything I just said, but now you can make your own and just kind of like guiding questions and like location, your audience, what's your goal of your program, like is it to do resource protection, or is it to talk about climate change, or is it to talk about the history of the park here? And Freeman Tilden does have a book about interpretation, and it's called Interpreting Our Resource. It is a little bit older of a book, but it's still a lot of his philosophies do still hold up today. Don't quote me on this, I'm sure Jennifer knows. If you're ever wanting to borrow a book, as long as you give it back, I'm sure we have a lot of Freeman Tilden books in the library. Question mark?
Maybe, I'm not sure.
If not, I have one at home. You can borrow mine. We've had, at previous parks, they've had more than enough, and we ended up getting one.
So is he a park service person?
Freeman Tilden was not a part of the Park Service, I don't believe, but he was an interpretive philosopher. Same with, I think John Muir had a little bit of interpretive stuff as well, but he wasn't, yeah. Like interpreting the resource and how to, why it matters, the philosophy of it. It wasn't just having people come to, so interpretation wasn't just having people come to the park and they go on a trail. It's making them have a meaningful time and care and learn what they're doing. Not just like a museum, which museums are great, but also it's not just facts. It's like, how can we extend upon this, you know? And then Foundations of Interpretations by the National Park Service is just a really big book, curious people. Have y'all ever heard of what's it called? The park the park administrative report? Have y'all ever heard of that?
The park administrative report?
Yes.
If that's the one that I'm thinking of, I've seen
Really
it,
long.
they did one on something, I can't remember what it was.
It's a really thick, it's very old.
Oh, and that is
Okay. Why I ask is it's kind of almost like the foundation documents, but it's very, 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 very nitty gritty, and it tells you about how the park was established and like the different. It's like it's administrative history, not report. Administrative history. So it tells you everything history-wise, and it is very bureaucratic and dry. It's not a story, but it tells you all of that, which a lot of interpreters like to read, so they learn about the resource. Does that make sense? So I worked at a historical park that they had when this building was made, when it was renovated, who put in that door, and different things, and so talk about Longmire and Paradise and different things like that, but also stuff that no one really wants to know about, but it's fun for us to know about.
It's like a historical,
It's
step by step of
Yes.
how it was
Yes.
put together.
So in one of my previous parks, it talked about the legislation that went into the park because it was a unique park that had not enabling legislation, it had a party agreement. It's a whole different thing. And so they talked about that process as well.
Wow.
Yeah, so I could look that up for y'all. A lot of papers. A A lot of people. I'm sure there's not a book here. I feel like everyone reads at home. But yeah, so we have a few more minutes. And this is just what we did. This just talks about our course recap of everything that y'all learned today, which is we examined what our visitors are seeking. We also identified what the interpretive will is. We reflected, we didn't do that because we didn't have time. Hopefully you reflect on yourself. We connected sticky problems to park themes and crafting dialogic questions, applied a wide array of ACE techniques and training techniques, so that's just what we went over. And then how to use ACE as a tool to improve meaningful connections and a lifelong learning for our audience of ourselves. And lastly, because we do have a few more minutes, I was going to give you just a quick, which you do not have to copy by any means if you do not want to, but how you can use what these tools were in a quick talk with somebody. Make sense? Cool. So it's not going to be like a formal program. So I'll set the scene. You always got to set the scene, right? It's this cute little kid that is kind of touching the flowers, not picking them, touching them, looking at them, kind of thinking about it, and mom's over there not even paying attention because she's holding the infant that's fussy or whatever, and you kind of see him to start to walk off, because there's no rope and rebar, because, you know, all the places that everyone's walking, there's no rope and rebar. So that's the scene, okay? So here's the kid. I'm going up to him. Make sense? Oh, hey, buddy. What animal are you wanting to see today? Or what's your favorite animal? And he's like, I want to see a big old bear. And he's like, oh, you do? Okay. And then you can say, what do you think bears eat? Oh, they eat, you know, big old mountain lions and goats. So the little black bears here, they actually really like to eat the berries and those beautiful flowers. It's like a buffet for them. And these flowers are really fragile because they don't grow very long. See how little you are? They don't even last that long. They have to only get a little bit in a year, like less than a school year. Kind of really elaborate on whatever. Really? Yeah, so we ask that people don't step on the plants or pick them because we want the food to be there for that cute big bear that you want to see. And maybe you're not seeing it because people are picking those flowers and stepping on them. And they're going, oh, you know. And then you give them the cool little metal rubber button and read it to them because, you know, sometimes we can't read, even us adults. And then you can end the question or say, like, I know a lot of y'all say, like, oh, you're Deputy Junior Ranger or Metal Rover, or, and I like to say, now you can help me protect the park. So how are you going to protect the park with this new power that you have of the Metal Rover button? And then they can give you an answer, or they can just and not, and then everyone heard, the kids heard your conversation. I bet hopefully the mom heard the situation, and now they all can kind of think about, oh, how should we protect that bear who really wants to see, you know? But yeah, does that kind of give you a cool example? Do you like my kid voice? Yeah, so that's how it would be a little bit quicker, not more programmed. But you're kind of leaving them with, how can you help protect this bear so he can have those flowers? Or how can you protect these flowers so they keep growing? Stay on the trail. And it's like, yeah. So cool. Thank y'all for coming today. If you have any questions, I didn't see any on the bike rack, so I answered all your questions. Just kidding. It's a lot to digest. I hope it made sense. If you have any, I'd love to hear them. Yes, Camp Host Dave.